And so we can talk about some of the things there and that. So let me get to this. I've got a little slide. Windows 11 is scheduled to be released in the holiday season of this year. So the last part of this year. They're talking about maybe the late fall into winter, so Thanksgiving, maybe Christmas. It just depends on how well the beta for Windows 11 goes, the exact release date. But they're targeting it for the end of the year. Excuse me, the beta is currently out for it. You can sign up for early release and actually be running the beta. I do not recommend it unless you have a spare PC that you can load it on and try it, because it is a beta. It does have problems, and those problems, it's going to take them till the end of the year to fix and resolve some of the drivers and problems that are going to pop up there. So it's announced, but I don't recommend most people load it up on any machine right now. It is going to be a free upgrade, and we'll talk about whether it'll work on your machine or not, but the upgrade itself will be free, no charge, and you'll see it obviously installed on new PCs if you start buying a new PC there. It is a major change from Windows 10, so this isn't a minor upgrade, it's a major change there. Windows 10 came out in 2015, and so this is going on over 6 years it's been out. Microsoft, when Windows 11 starts shipping, will stop supporting Windows 10 in 2025. So if your machine is running Windows 10 and you don't upgrade to Windows 11, or your machine can't be upgraded to Windows 11, you've basically got until 2025 until they no longer support it, and it'd be more vulnerable to hacks or viruses. Excuse me. This is a little video, 2 minutes and 42 seconds, kind of introducing Windows 11 that I found interesting, and give you a little background. And then we'll talk about some of the features that it has and some of the things around Windows 11. So, excuse me, I'll start up this YouTube video here. stop that. Let's go back to our presentation. So that was a quick overview of what Windows 11, some of the look and the feel and features out there. So let's dive into a few of the features again, and I'll be commenting on some of the features that you just saw in the video there. Its main feature is the streamlined new design. So it has rounded corners on a lot of things. It's more of a Mac-like look and feel, soft colors. So they put a lot of time and effort into that. Another feature is the ability to run Android apps. So this will be the first time that you can run Android apps inside of Windows. The apps would be loaded from the Amazon App Store. So this is not loading all the apps on the Google Play Store. The Google Play Store has about 3 million apps or 2.8 million apps. The Amazon App Store has like 500,000 apps. So not every app on the Google Play Store will run in Windows 11, but certainly a large number of them. And the most popular, the most popular apps will get converted to run in Windows 11 there with the Amazon. The Windows Start button that we're used to seeing down in the bottom left-hand corner and popping that up to select your apps and run has now moved to the center, and they've cleaned it up. They've put more emphasis on showing you the recent things that you've been doing, connections to other devices, and just trying to make it easier for most people to find what they want to do and easily run it there. In the demo, you saw something that they call snap layouts. It allows you to organize multiple windows. So in Windows 10, you can organize your windows, but it's more of a manual process of sizing them and positioning them on the screen. And if you've got multiple displays and things like that, you can do it, but it's a lot of manual effort. They're trying to automate this so that as you're using multiple apps and trying to do multiple things, it'll let you organize your display a lot easier. They also have another feature called Snap Groups, and the groups is they're recognizing that you may be working with multiple apps at a time, or you're working on a project, or so you're doing maybe something with Microsoft Word, and you're doing something with a Chrome browser, and you're doing something with a PowerPoint. At the same time, you can kind of group these things together, and that way when you switch from one task to another task, you can switch the whole groups and make it easier to manage that way too. So it makes it a lot easier to work with multiple things at a time. More support for widgets. So widgets were kind of introduced in Windows 10. Windows 11 builds on that to give you more widgets and more functionality in those widgets. So widgets are almost like apps, but they're just smaller, smaller sets of software to do a particular task. And depending on how you work and what you do, they're going to have more widgets for you to be able to use, and those widgets will be easily maintained or organized in the new Windows 11. You'll also have virtual desktops, so you may have a desktop for your work, for your school, for your personal, for a project, and similar to the groups, it's just that this lets you organize a desktop, and that desktop, as if it's portable, a laptop that you have or a tablet that you have, it's going to be able to remember when you're docked and when you're undocked, and when you want to go into this mode, it'll switch and show you the display there. Numerous upgrades to the voice typing to make it easier and more reliable there. A better touch keyboard, so if you're using it on a laptop and that laptop is a convertible where you can turn it into kind of like a tablet, the touch keyboard is going to be more robust and is supposed to be actually easier to use than your phone and things like that. It'll also support gestures and other input. They mentioned improved gaming and graphics, so it's HDR type experience for the graphics. The gaming is supposed to be more detailed and faster response there, because in the old days you'd have this pipeline to get the graphics from the central processing unit to the display. They've improved the way that that information is sent to the display, such that there's bigger pipelines and easier ways to do it in Windows 11. Microsoft Teams, the package is more integrated into the Windows 11, so the ability to do virtual meetings with people or pop-up or things like that is just more integrated in with the operating system, so it's not just a separate software package that you start up and work with there. I mentioned this a little bit earlier with the virtual desktops, the tablet mode and docking. It keeps track of how you're connected there and makes it easy and changes everything back when you're docked as opposed to when you're moving around and doing things there. Okay, let's talk about the system requirements for Windows 11. They do have an app, or they had created an app. It's called the PC Health Checkup that can be loaded. You can go out to a number of websites and or the Microsoft website or a number of websites and load it today. And it'll go through your machine and kind of check to see if your machine is capable of running Windows 11 or can run Windows 11. They did have some problems with it, so they are working on it. I'm not sure if it's currently unavailable or that, but if it's not available right now, it'll be available very soon there. Excuse me. So these are the requirements. Your CPU has to be at least 1 gigahertz, and everybody's CPU is kind of 1 gigahertz. But it does have to have 2 cores or 2 processors in it. And it also has to be 64-bit. Now, most CPUs in the last 10 years kind of would fall in and be capable there. But there are some models that don't have multiple cores and that in there. You need at least 4 gigabytes of RAM. However, I wouldn't even try and run Windows 10 on 4 gigabytes of RAM. So you're probably going to want 16 gigabytes on a machine running Windows 11. You have to have at least 64 gigabytes of storage or hard drive. And this is more of a constraint on some of the lightweight tablets that may have solid-state hard drives. Some of them originally came with 32 gigabyte solid-state drives. Well, the operating system is even bigger than that, so you need at least 64 gigabytes of storage for the operating system. These are the sticky points or what are going to cause a number of machines not to be able to be upgraded to Windows 11. Your system firmware or the BIOS in your machine must be UEFI compliant, which is tied in with a secure boot capability. And this gets into encrypting the hard drive and security so that if somebody stole your laptop or desktop and wasn't able to log into Windows, how much information could they see or what data could they see? So Windows 11 is more secure, but one of the ways that it ensures that it's secure is that your BIOS on your computer has to have this built-in security. The other thing that it has to have is it has to have what's called a TPM, which is Trusted Platform Module, and version 2 of the Trusted Platform Module. And most of the PCs after 2016 come with this. But if you have an older PC, so if you bought your PC 7 years ago or again, later than 5 years, you may not have this in there. And what it is it's usually a tiny chip on the motherboard, and it's used to control the encryption and unlocking of the computer. There's ways to do this, not through a hardware, but through software, but those aren't as secure. And so chances are those would not be supported. What Microsoft wants is it wants this trusted platform module on the hardware, on the machine that you have. So if you do have an older machine, again, if it's older than probably 2017, if you haven't bought it in the last 4 years, it's not going to run Windows 11. Also, the graphics card in the computer, it has to be DirectX 12 compatible graphics. And so these are standards on how to pass graphics to and from the display. And so the card has to be decent. The display itself has to be 9 inches or greater and has to support a high definition resolution of at least 720p. So again, if you've got, and most of the newer laptops and desktops all support this, it's just older ones aren't going to. Also, it sounds like you're going to need to have a Microsoft account and an internet connection. So in the past, you could set up Windows 10 without a Microsoft account. You could create a local account in Windows and things like that. Now you are going to have to have an account there. Okay, some things are, we talked about the features that were added. Some things are being taken out or going to be gone. One is Windows 10 supported something called Windows S mode, which was made for lower powered computers and limited capabilities. You weren't an admin on your computer. Well, they've gotten rid of this Windows S mode, and so that's no longer be an option in Windows 11. Internet Explorer is going to be gone. So Internet Explorer, currently in Windows 10, you have the option of using Internet Explorer. Microsoft also has its new browser, the Edge, and both those are supported in Windows 10. In Windows 11, Internet Explorer will no longer be supported. Cortana. So Cortana is the Siri or the Google Now that was built into Windows 10. That is no longer there in Windows 11. They do have ways to do voice input and things like that, but it is not Cortana there. Timeline is also not supported in Windows 11. And I would guess that most people aren't using it now, so it's not a big deal that that's gone. Quick status on the lock screen is no longer supported. This is an option where a number of the programs, if you gave them permission, could show you status without logging into the operating system. because of security and things like that, that's being taken away. So quick status, if your machine is locked, is not going to show there. Okay, that's the slides that I had. Let me do this. Let me see here. Where do I turn off my screen sharing? So we'll turn it off there. So I'll turn off screen sharing and I'll turn back on my video. If people have a question about Windows 11 or that, we'll first take questions about Windows 11 and then I'll open it up to any questions if people don't have any other questions there.
Tom?
Yes.
This is Linda here.
Yep.
I'm getting an echo too. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. That's talking about needing 2 cores. So am I right in assuming that one of the cores is my i7 that I have now? On Windows 10?
The chips that have been made for the last number of years, when you buy a computer, you get a chip, and usually that chip has a certain processing speed and also the number of cores. So the number of cores is essentially like having, if you have a car, you have one engine. Well, think of it as having multiple engines. So
where do we get that second engine if we're going to upgrade Windows 10 on an existing?
The way cores work is that if I'm an operating system and I have multiple cores, it's like having 5 people or 2 people or 4 people or 8 people working at the same time there.
We're only talking.
So is the one i7 core adequate and there's like partitions or something?
No, the core is a processor, and the operating system doles out work to these different cores and tries to keep all the cores busy. The more cores you have, the more things that can be done at the same time concurrently. And so if you have a CPU that has multiple cores as opposed to somebody that doesn't have multiple cores, my computer is going to be that much faster, X times faster based on the number of cores. And many of the CPUs are multiple, which means that they have anywhere from 2 to 32 cores. And so rather than wait in line for something to get done and then the next thing can start up and the next thing can start up and the next thing can start up, all these things can be going at the same time, not slowing down each other. And
so then I guess my basic question is, if somebody's considering upgrading a Windows 10 operating system, is an i7 core adequate for Windows 11, or is that going to have to be adjusted somehow?
Yeah, what you'll do is you will go through. I'm going to change my view here just a second here. What you can do is you will run the health check, and it'll check your compatibility. Whether your CPU is capable of it or not. And if your CPU is capable of it, great, you're ready to go, everything's okay. If it's not, and so you could have an i7 that is not capable of running Windows 11.
Tom, an answer just came into my question that all cores have more than, well, the answer disappeared, but I believe I'm covered because I was looking at my computer capabilities as you were going down the list, and my confusion was, where do I find multiple cores? Or I maybe should have asked, or do I already have them? And somebody just shot out an answer on the screen saying that most i7s have 4 to 8.
i7, because some people have and you have Intel or ADM type processors. Most people are using those 2 manufactured processors. There's all different speeds, all different numbers of cores depending on the make and the model there. And actually, Intel, I believe, is currently selling i11s. So just like phones and everything else, there's new versions. Well, there's new versions of processors that are faster and do things, caching and number of processors and the way that they do things. So
Okay, that kind of gives me a game plan for where I'm going in the future then.
right.
I'm pretty sure my newest laptop is adequate for an upgrade, but it might be time now that Pavilion, HP Pavilion that I brought back to life, it could be a good time to just kind of let that die, and then I'll get another new laptop or something.
Yeah, and like I mentioned, Windows 10 will continue to be supported by Microsoft through 2025. So just
Yep.
because your laptop or your desktop does not run Windows 11, you could continue to run Windows 10. So
Just
a
kind of
number
how
of
I'm
the
still
machines out
using
there
Windows 7, huh?
a number of the machines are not going to be able to run Windows 11 because they're older machines, and it's not just the CPU. It's if they don't have the security, if the hard disk doesn't have that in the BIOS, and the manufacturer doesn't want to update their BIOS and other things there, the manufacturers usually just want to sell a new machine. So they're going to come out with new Windows 11 machines, and that's what they're going to want to sell.
Sounds good. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Okay, I brought up the chat here, and it looks like, yeah, Mitch had mentioned here, runs Android apps. Interesting. And this is the case of, just for consistency, if you have an app that you use on your phone or on a tablet, it's going to be nice to be able to have access to that same app in Windows there. So that should be nice there. Now, it won't be every app because, again, like I mentioned, it's the apps that you find on the Amazon App Store. It's not the full 2.8 million out on the Google Play Store. Okay, Odd mentions Skype being phased out. Skype is not being phased out, so Skype will still be there. It's just that Teams is a completely different software. So Microsoft currently has Teams and it has Skype. Skype is great for doing a virtual meeting like we're doing today. It does not have integration to collaborate with other people. So if we both wanted to work on a Word document at the same time and integrate it in with PowerPoint and other things there, it doesn't have the integration that Teams has. Teams lets you do all kinds of things there and is always going to be have more features and functions than something like Skype. But Skype isn't going away, at least in the near term. Okay, Ken mentions, can you find all of these requirements in settings? No, you cannot find these requirements in settings, and that's why Microsoft created the tool that looks at the BIOS that you have. It looks at the hardware on your machine, and so it comes up with that. And that'll be the tool to tell you whether you're going to be able to upgrade or not upgrade. And again, it's somewhat of a moving target because right now these are the requirements, but Microsoft could change it so that maybe they get too much feedback from people that they want this supported or that supported, and so they may change the way it does. Also, this means that if you built your own PC with your own motherboard and put pieces together, chances are that will not work unless you add some of these other components in there for the security and the encryption and that. So, but if you have, again, usually if you, in the last 4 years, if you bought a new laptop or a desktop, you're okay. If it's older than that, chances are it's not going to work there. Let's see. Will this overwrite Windows 10? If you don't like it, you can go back to 10. And I believe this will completely overwrite Windows 10 when it installs. And the reason for that is because it's hard to have two operating systems on the same machine there. There are ways to boot it. Microsoft doesn't support that solution. If you did want to go back, your manufacturer, so if you have a desktop or a laptop today, if you're not familiar, let's say you have a major problem in Windows 10 today, there's mechanisms within your laptop or your desktop to reset your computer, to reload Windows 10. So at a minimum, you're always going to be able to do that. If for whatever reason you upgraded to Windows 11 and did want to go back to Windows 10, you could reset the computer and reload the operating system and be back to Windows 10. It's a painful, and you lose your data. You'd have to back it up, have it backed up and then restore your data files and things like that and reload software that you may have installed. But you could get the machine kind of back to the factory settings there where it came with Windows 10. Bonnie asks, will these slides be posted on the PC Club website? I'll make a note and I'll post them out there in the next couple of days there. Okay, and then Mitch did mention all of the i7 processors either come with 4 or 8 cores. And like I say, you can even find processors out there with 32 cores. So there's all kinds of things there. John you mentioned PC Health Checkup. Where do we find this? In the last eBytes, I included a number of links in there talking about Windows 11. And if you read those articles, you'll see links within there to see the PC Health Checkup where you can download it, and it'll talk about a number of the things that we've already talked about there for what are the requirements and that. Okay, other questions? So that's what was in the chat there. Any questions there?
So you're saying that the Windows 10 or 11 is going to overwrite 10? Is there any choice not to give it?
Yes, you have the option of upgrading, just like if you had an old Windows 7 machine. I don't know if you went through upgraded a Windows 7 or a Windows 8 machine to Windows 10. You had to make the decision to upgrade. It was a free upgrade, and then as part of that checking to see whether your machine was capable of Windows 10, it went through and checked the CPU, it checked the hard disk space, and then started its upgrade. And that, if you recall, was a one-way upgrade. It upgraded your operating system to Windows 10. It didn't have the undo button to go back or anything. If the upgrade itself failed, it would go back to the previous version of Windows that you had. But if the upgrade was successful, it deleted, the old files that were used for the old version of Windows that you had.
Because I currently have my computer set up for auto update, so it automatically updates. But when this comes through, is it going to then? It's going to ask us if we want to update it.
You'd have to go in and update the auto.
So
update
I don't.
That you're talking about is Windows 10 will automatically install critical updates. And a critical update is, a virus vulnerability or a hacker vulnerability or things like that. This upgrade from your existing Windows 10 to 11 is going to be entirely optional. So you can choose not to upgrade or when you want to upgrade. So just like when Windows 10 first came out, you may not want to be the first person on the block to install it, because usually there are issues there. Now, the beta, you have millions, literally millions of people running the Windows 11 beta on a wide variety of hardware today. So a number of bugs are going to be found and are going to be fixed before it's officially released the end of the year. But that doesn't mean that Microsoft's going to have time to fix all of those, nor will it have been tested on every possible configuration of computers that is out there. So just like when Windows 10 came out, you're best to wait a little bit until everything kind of settles and everything gets checked out. Otherwise, you could load it, let's say, on your laptop, and all of a sudden your video camera is not working. Everything else in Windows is working fine, but the driver for the camera on your particular model, let's say it's an HP, is not working with Windows 11. Well, now you have to wait for HP or somebody to correct or create a driver that's compatible with Windows 11. Maybe that's a matter of days, or it could be months before there's a fix there. In the meantime, your camera is not working or that. So that's typically what you run into with new operating systems, or especially when it's a kind of a complete rewrite, or not a complete rewrite, but a major upgrade and a major amount of changes there.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Other questions or? But yeah, the link to check your PC, that PC health check, is a package or software from Microsoft to look at your machine and look at the BIOS and look at some of these things and give you an indicator. Now, the first version that they created, you'd run it and it would either say, yes, it looks good, or no, it doesn't. It wouldn't say what was missing or what was not working there. It would just say that, no, your machine is not meeting the requirements. So they're trying to fix that so that they can tell people why it's not meeting the requirements too, so that you know that, oh, it's because it doesn't have this hardware or the BIOS or doesn't have sufficient CPUs or things like that. So they're trying to make it better, but right now, if you do download it, it's either yes, it meets it, or no, it doesn't there.
Tom, this is Ken.
Yeah.
And so if we didn't download that when they get it fixed, and we waited until Microsoft 11 is ready to be released, wouldn't that check your computer to see whether or not it was compatible?
Yes, that will, just like if I don't know, did you go through the Windows 10 upgrade on any of your machines, or?
I did on a laptop that I no longer have. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first thing that any upgrade like that does is kind of test whether your machine is capable of running it, both in terms of hard disk and any other requirements there. And so it won't even attempt to upgrade it if it doesn't meet certain criteria there. And that'll be the same way. This PC health check is just Microsoft's attempt to let you check and see whether it looks like your computer is going to be able to run Windows 11 without doing any type of install. So it's just a small piece of software that you load on the computer. It is not attempting to upgrade your operating system to Windows 11. It's just doing a check to see if your current machine might be capable of running Windows 11. And if it isn't, that's where I think Microsoft is trying to, let people know that if they do want to run Windows 11, then maybe their best bet is to purchase a new computer. So this is kind of giving you a warning, or that if you do want to run Windows 11, you are probably going to have to purchase a new computer there. Because if I had an old computer that didn't have a fast CPU, didn't have the memory, didn't have the BIOS, didn't have the TPM, it'd be cheaper for me to buy a new computer than attempt to do anything to that old computer. So that's at least what I believe Microsoft is trying to do is warn you that you may want to start looking for a new computer there. It doesn't mean that you need a new computer, because again, you can continue to run Windows 10 exactly as you're running today. Microsoft will support that up until 2025. So you've got another 4 years of use of your machine. It just won't have the bells and whistles that Windows 11 has.
Tom, this is Linda again. How much longer do you think that properly set up Windows 10 laptop systems will still be offered for sale?
If we use kind of history as a benchmark there, if you recall when Windows 10 came out and started shipping, there were still a number of companies where you could go online and order a laptop with Windows 7. And a number of companies, like 3M, has a particular date when they're switching, which may be after the official release of a package like Windows 10. Maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's a year. So all of their computers that they're leasing or buying, they'd get installed with the older version of Windows until the entire organization was in a position to switch.
Okay, and then I'm thinking as time goes on, the less loaded and enhanced operating systems for Windows 10 will have long since been purchased, and they just kind of try to clean out what's left in stock after that. So you might not have as great, I don't know, unless they're all really capable nowadays, and it doesn't make much difference. This is something kind of like certificates of deposit. I'm learning with laptops. My first one, well, the Toshiba is still running after 10 years, but the HP brands, boy, I ran into a significant problem 3 years in with that Pavilion. And so now I've got the HP Envy, and so I've got kind of a backup arrangement too, but I'm thinking I should probably stagger my Windows 10 existing systems and buy one maybe a year from now, because then that gives me 3 more years to work with Windows 10, another period of time to figure out, what it was like for me to make a leap to a smartphone. I'm not sure what Windows 11 will do to me, because we get so comfortable. And I don't know that I'm representative of a large segment of society, but I find my things I need to do on my Windows 10 barely tap into any of the other capabilities I know exist on the computer. And then you don't go outside that box very often unless you have to, you're adding something or enhancing something and you have a reason to do it. But yeah, so and I've got, yeah.
No,
This is good to know.
you bring up good points there, and I've had this discussion with a number of people over the years. I mean, my history goes back before the first IBM PC, me buying computers and things like that, and it's a case of some people like to think of I'm buying a computer and I want to use it until it dies or quits. That's not possible. That's not possible now because the rapid change in the computer industry and in the phone industry and the tablets and things like that, and even it's proliferating into the TVs now. The days of buying something and using it for 30 years are not there. And part of it, well, the main reason is the technology is changing so fast.
Yeah.
So it's a case of, would I want to use a computer that is 7 years old or 10 years old? No, it's too slow. The graphics aren't there. The memory isn't there. If I bought a laptop, the battery isn't holding a charge the way it did when it was brand new. So all the devices, especially portable devices that have batteries, you need to replace them between 3 and 5 years.
Well, and having learned that, this really satisfies a comfort zone that I've always liked, and that's having a backup system if one does crash. So
yeah,
the pricing
having
down,
things
the
like
flexibility to do that is greater. You kind of keep moving things along every 3 or 4 years and keep current with the technologies.
Now, I'd say that really isn't necessary to have a backup piece of hardware because it's a case of let's say my laptop is an HP laptop. If that laptop somebody stole it or I dropped it and it got crushed or run over by a steamroller, I could walk into a store, I could purchase it, purchase a new laptop and connect to my cloud, do a little restore from my backup, and be back up and running in less than a day. So I
realize that, and I envy your capabilities.
and this is true of most people, though. You shouldn't have your data just on your laptop, and the ability nowadays of accessing that data and using your phones and your tablets and things like that make it that much easier to replace with new hardware, new operating systems, all these things. So
you get your new computer, you add the software programs you want, and then you go to the cloud and download your data effectively. Then.
Well, and not download. Again, there's no need to download. Access. I have access to all my data.
Yeah. So that makes a lot of sense. How large a capability under those circumstances, because you're a person who really has a lot of data files and information. What size capability do you find works for your needs? Does somebody have to go into multiple terabytes for things like that in the cloud? If you have so much data?
It depends on what you have. So my photos, I've mentioned before, I use Google Photos. Well, Google Photos had unlimited. And so I had 60,000 photographs out there and videos out there. So
on their cloud, under that unlimited thing.
Yes, and so there's mechanisms there. But even before the cloud, in terms of machines being replaced or upgraded or things like that, it'd take me multiple hands to count the number of computers I've had over the years in the last 40 years. That's because I started out with, before the first IBM PC, and the first IBM PC was an 8088. Then, if our evolution of
286 came
CPUs
along
went
not
to
long after that.
286s and 386s and 486s, and so this is just another evolution here. Windows itself, somebody had mentioned, or Ken mentioned, so Windows 3.0 is never coming back. I started with Windows 386. So that was the very first version of Windows there. And things have changed. How many versions of Windows have we had since then? We've had, I believe if I counted them up, and there's been several that were just for businesses and stuff like that, about 12 different versions of Windows.
I leaped on with Windows 95, I remember. And that was not too far after they had come into existence. But it's nice to have people like you working with them and testing them and being a super duper beta person for all that stuff. And then you share your knowledge with us so we can gain some helpful insights. So yeah, every time, I hope people out there appreciate some of my basic questions I answer, but I'm still trying to get newer capabilities organized in my brain and the potentials out there. And I have to move away from some of those things that are comfortable and ways I currently do stuff.
Things are changing, and along that topic, I think Richard mentions here, makes the choice to go to Chromebook easier. Well, Chromebook, if you'll recall when I talked about them and that, Chromebooks are built with an expiration date. That expiration date is usually 4 years out. So if you're buying into it, expect to buy a new device in 4 years. The new operating systems will not load on it. And that's that planned obsolescence. And thankfully nowadays, you can, I recommend people buy the lower end. Don't buy a high-end laptop. Don't buy a high-end desktop. You can buy my laptop that I'm using. I paid, I believe, $209 or it was either $299 or $399. I'm not sure exactly there, but I've used this for 3 years or 4 years now, and I'll get a new one, and I'm going to buy a low-end model. I'm not going to spend $1,200 or $2,000 on a laptop because then you're really not going to want to get rid of it with a newer model when it should be replaced. So it's just kind of this evolution thing going on.
Well, this has been really helpful because I just started hearing about Windows 11 also. Maybe it just was a big announcement or something. And I thought, holy moly, I just finally got set up nicely with my Windows 10 and my Windows 10 backup. And, you know, gosh, I have to start thinking about upgrading equipment again. So
yeah, Bonnie mentions in here, horrible for the landfills.
I would agree with that, Bonnie.
hopefully people are not putting them in the garbage, because the normal recycling is there are third world countries that can use these devices. There are programs that'll recondition them. It's just that we don't have to take that risk of running old stuff. Now, I still have some of my old hardware. I converted it to a Linux machine, and I converted it to this. I don't have it running unprotected software. If you're running an operating system, as an example, if anyone's still running Windows 7, you might as well just post a note on your computer that says, "Hackers welcome," because your machine will be found. You will get a virus. You will have a problem. And so why take the risk of trying to run some of this old stuff or on unsupported hardware, which is because the software isn't supported?
Tom, question regarding that specific comment because I know I fall into that group. Can't the Windows 7 officially be disconnected from the internet wanting to seek it out some way? Because all I do on there is mess around with some photos. That doesn't require internet or anything. But with Bluetooth and all that, I've often wondered about this. It's maybe lurking there and checking that, sees I bring that computer up, but I never go to the internet to use anything that I know of.
For most people, you no longer do things standalone on the computer because you do use the cloud for storage. You use the cloud to store photos. You download updates to software. So if you're not updating any of the software on that, you're running a risk there.
But what does anybody care about an old Windows 7 that isn't? I'm not knowingly connecting to the internet, but I'm not sure that I'm not inadvertently kind of hooked, but not interactive, maybe, while I go download some photos to that Windows 7 system. I have to get all those moved, and I'm trying. Oh, I have a good related question along those lines. Now that I'm moving my photos up to the OneDrive cloud, I would like to organize them in folders and groups in a similar fashion to how I was doing down on my laptop, but I have not yet been able to figure out how to do that. Can I create folders in OneDrive, or do they have to be uploaded already in folders and formatted? Or
you can there's all kinds of packages to work with photos, and Windows comes
I just want to put them in the folders. I don't even want to edit them. I just want to right now OneDrive gives me my photos that are getting uploaded there by date. I know there are abilities out there where I can sort these more beyond date. But I don't know where they are. I've been kind of trying to look. Do I find it on OneDrive, or is it coming from somewhere else?
There's different services, and you can go back on the PC Club meetings there where we talked about iCloud, the cloud services, and there are various photo options. Yes, you could use the Microsoft, but you also then you're buying into their software. So if you want to use their software, fine. If you want to use Google Photos, fine. If you want to use Photoshop, so there's
wait, hold up, Tom. I'm way back. You lost me a long time ago. Where these photos are coming from is exclusively from my smartphone. That makes them unique. Nothing is on there from my camera, but now I've got this group of smartphone photos that's organized by date, that is in some timely fashion that I still haven't figured out, but it's not instantaneous. Samsung has told me it will take any picture I have on my smartphone taken through Google. Is that where my camera comes from? Google runs everything, don't they, on the smartphones, on the Androids?
Not if you're storing your photos on OneDrive. That's Microsoft's cloud solution.
And Samsung's handshaking for me with the photos that I believe Google makes capable on my smartphone. When I press the camera icon, isn't that Google taking over somehow to give me a photo app where I can take photos and things like that? So
your phone came with an app that has a camera. That camera takes a picture. That picture is put in a file on your phone. From there, you have 1,000 options. Which cloud service to load it up to? Do you load it up at all? Do you edit it? Where do you edit it? So it's an Android
something or other taking all of my photos. It's specific to Samsung and what operating system?
Samsung is just the vendor of your phone.
where's the software coming for my ability to take a picture?
Tom, may I interrupt and maybe I can answer Linda's question?
Sure.
Because I had the same problem. But in OneDrive, I can go up there and I can create a folder and I can call it Christmas pictures. And then I can take all the pictures, whether it's in Google or whether it's in whatever, and I can load those up to that Christmas. And then I've got pictures from New Year's, okay? And I can make a folder for New Year's on OneDrive, and then I can load them up to New Year's.
And you and I can talk more in detail on this then later on. That's what I'm trying to aim for. And when we were together last week, we didn't have time for this discussion,
right.
So let's pick it up later on.
Well, okay, I hope my suggestion answers your question.
It does.
Good,
And that's
good.
what I'm trying, and then that gets me into uploading and downloading.
Well,
And I pressed download the other day and I had no idea. Wheels started spinning and it appeared everything was going to move somewhere. I couldn't find a stop button. I'm going, holy, fill in the blank. And that was really frightening. And that smartphone is not as easy to put the brakes on as my laptop is. I always know where that X is and I can shut something down and stop it. And I'm still learning. I go to that little kind of rounded corner square in the center of the bottom of my phone and just press that and get out. And then I go to close all apps and I figure that's my way of shutting down. But this was downloading on my laptop and I couldn't even stop it on the laptop and it was scary. And then, so yeah, I'm sorry. You're bringing back a trauma.
Yeah, we're past our time, so if anyone has to
I
go,
see that.
that's fine. But I will stay on here, and I will attempt to straighten or provide some input to you there, Linda, because there's vast differences in how to manage your photos. You can upload them to a service. I can upload a file, and it looks just like I'm copying a file to Google Drive or to
And all I want to do once I get there is
don't
get them
want
back
that.
into my...
You don't want
No?
that. You don't want that.
Well, when I want to go to the Ely trip from 2019 and I want to find just those pictures there, how do I do that?
Okay. I've turned on screen sharing. So I've turned on
Here we
screen
go.
sharing.
No, I don't want to put people in this position.
No, I'm gonna quickly do this because
Okay.
I go out to the internet. I go to Google Photos.
Okay.
Google Photos, I have 60,000 Google Photos out here.
How did you get them organized by year, or is that an automatic
Because I organized them by year.
Okay.
I took them, and you can create any number of albums. And so
That's what I'm looking for.
I've got it broken out by year. I also have them broken out by some subjects and things like that.
Everything's clear.
Here's some of the PC Club picnic. So if you've gone out and looked at the picnic, you've seen Google Photos. And these
Tom,
photos were uploaded here. And you can organize them any way that you want.
Got it.
You can search for them. I can go up here and I can say, show me the pictures in these 50,000 or that have a cat in there. And it'll show me pictures that have a cat in there.
Got it. I got it.
Now,
it was a stupid thing. I'm getting tripped up on terminology.
Linda, if I go out to, this is Google Drive. If I go out to Google Drive, I can upload and download files there. I don't use Google Drive for my photos. Because if I uploaded them into a folder or stuff like that here, I'd have none of the capabilities that I have here.
Where you're creating those within the storage drive.
I can do albums, where I can share it with people. So I share these albums with people. I edit, I make changes. That's what you have in a photo app and site like that. if I just wanted to upload a JPEG
Tom, I'll get to that
file,
point. You answered my basic question. You have opened up a whole world to me. As I play with this a little bit now, I'll be able to come back and you can, we can do a little private thing if I have a specific question. But it's kind of like with the smartphone. Right now, this was the simple thing. The word folder and the word album were not connecting for me. I thought, oh, an album, something else. And, I want my alphabetized folders. And now once I realize that's basically what I have there, I know where I need to go. And I just need practice on it. Speaking of that, I want to tell you, I successfully, after 4 attempts over the last couple months, navigated my way to a destination successfully and even deviated off course and saw what the phone how it will inform me that the connection's been lost. And I was not sure if that meant I lost the GPS or I lost the mapping capability, but it enabled me to learn that once I got back onto the road that they thought I should be taking, which was far out of my way, then they recognized me immediately and got me back on the final details of how I was going to arrive. So I was very proud of that. And oftentimes I'm just going to the grocery store, so I don't want to practice, and that's my destination and my car can do that on its own. So anyway, yeah, I need opportunities to practice, and I'm really liking the capabilities of the camera capability on the smartphone, and I have officially ditched my Canon pocket camera. So now what I have to do is just find more opportunities. Oh, in fact, I'm going to be heading out of town next week for a bit and putz with the different features that come with the camera capability. So yeah, I'm just a slowpoke. You must know that by now. It takes me forever to get there, but boy, you opened up the magic door for me today. Albums. Why didn't I think of that? And then the searching capability, that all makes sense because I saw an organization inadvertently take place of my photos. And I thought, well, who did that? Why did they want to group it that way? So I must have been clicking buttons that triggered something or other. And it just didn't make sense for me when I first saw it. But anyways, as always, I walk away from here feeling a little bit more skilled and wizened and contemplating Windows 11. Thank you so very much for bringing that up as a topic today.
No. And anyone else have any other question or that? Otherwise, we'll shut it down. And I think what's our other topic this month at the general meeting will be podcasts. So that'll be coming up. When is that? The 28th? I think the 28th of July there.
I've always wondered what those are. I'll be there. Thank you so much. I hope everybody who remains has a great week. Looks like John and Ken and maybe us, the stragglers in the end that cause you headaches, maybe. Hey, have a great week.
It's a complicated environment there, and hopefully you got some ideas and different ways to do things there.
Bunches and bunches. Now I just have to put that on my to-do list too. And I don't know if I'm on vacation. I don't necessarily get to that to-do list very well. So we'll see how this works out. God willing, I live long enough.
Okay. So, thanks, everybody. We'll see ya.
Thank you, Tom. Have a great week.
Yep. Bye.
Bye now.